very, very first thing that we did when we got there was we went to the city of Sakai, which is just outside Kyoto. No Japanese chef could perform any of the magic that they do without a great knife. And I think the organizers, realizing that as being gospel, the very first thing we did was go to a foundry and learn how Japanese knives are made. So there were two artisans there. One gentleman, what he does is he forges the blades. And then there's another gentleman there. He takes the raw steel after it's been shaped and formed into a very crude form of a knife. And he puts the edge on the knife and gives the knife its shape. My first kitchen experience there was with a chef who has a restaurant there called Miyamaso, which is also about an hour and a half outside Kyoto in the mountains. This guy, he actually spent 6 years working in France at a Michelin 3-star, and I think his dad passed away, and so he came back to take the restaurant over again. But just an incredibly inspiring guy. He's known as the Michel Bras of Japan, and what Michel Bras and this gentleman have in common is that they're both in very remote areas, and they rely exclusively on the area that surrounds their restaurant for their ingredients. You know, wild mushrooms, that means wild greens foraged from the woods, freshwater fish, because he's got mountain streams all around him, and that's all he uses. He's got these gorgeous little freshwater shrimp that come from the streams just outside his door. Then he also has these gorgeous little trout that he keeps in a little pan outside the restaurant for service in the restaurant. He's got a barrel full of freshwater eels that he keeps out there. And then a souvenir that I brought home was this amazing little spoon that is made from a chestnut branch and just one piece of a pine cone.
Marble beef there.
Yeah. Well, one night as part of the fellowship, we went to a teppanyaki restaurant, had Kobe beef, which was amazing. Another day we went to a yuzu farm. So yuzu is this magical citrus fruit that grows in Japan. Another day we went to a kombu dealer. Kombu is, the dried kelp that's such a huge part of Japanese cuisine. There's this photo, here's a photo of this gentleman. He's probably in his 60s, I would say. And he sits on a bench all day and he shaves kelp by hand to get these like paper thin, almost transparent pieces of kombu, which then you can marinate with a little bit of rice vinegar and serve them with dishes, and it's just incredible. But this guy shaves it by hand with a tool that's been created specifically for the task. And from what we were told the day we were there, he's the most efficient in Japan. He's more efficient than the machines, actually. You can see, here's another picture of one of the other chefs. It's got a piece just trailing out of his mouth, and literally the stuff just melts in your mouth when you get it. Then we went to a sake manufacturer another day, watched the whole process of making sake. These are some photos of the ikejime process. Here we're ikejiming an octopus, a live octopus. And then I spent another day in a kitchen of a Kappo-style restaurant. I learned how to butcher fugu.
Fugu is the poisonous blowfish you have to handle very carefully.
Yeah, these are the eyeballs of the fugu, which are also poisonous, sitting on my knife. And then the last restaurant I worked in was Kikunoi, which is owned by a gentleman named Murata. I just called him Murata-san the whole trip because he was just incredibly inspiring. He's the third, I think, generation chef from his family to run Kikunoi. So here's a picture of me making sushi with Murata, which was a lot of fun. We were making actually vinegared mackerel sushi, which is you find it all over in Japan, but especially in Kyoto, because in Kyoto they don't do what we think of as like nigiri sushi, or at least not as much. What I thought I understood about Japanese cuisine, I realize now, amounts to absolutely nothing. French cuisine, European cuisine is based on fat, I think you could pretty much say. The basis of any good kitchen in Japan is going to be dashi, which is just water, kombu, or kelp, and dried bonito flakes. Everything starts with that. Every soup, every stock, most vegetables are cooked in that broth. Most sauces would be made from that broth with the addition of either soy, obviously water-based, mirin, water-based, sake, water-based.
Does the cuisine being water-based also mean that you can't hide, maybe an off flavor or something like that, the way you could in butter?
You know what? I think that's an incredible point and very astute, because I was just reading of one of the books that I was given when I was over there, which is on dashi and umami. There is no room to hide is basically what he's saying. You've got to have the freshest ingredients, you've got to treat them well, you've got to handle them properly and with great technique in order to bring off a really great meal in Japanese cuisine.